One thing about the Madlanga Commission that it has taught us that we are not just looking at news stories. We are looking at autopsy of a failing state. For the last 48 hours, two separate inquiries have been laying bare the same terrifying reality that from the boardrooms of Pretoria to the streets of Durban, the system meant to protect has been weaponized against us. In Pretoria at the Madlanga Commission, Deputy Commissioner Revo Spies has just exposed a 2.9 billion security heist in the city of Tshwane. A heist ran via WhatsApp. Meanwhile, in the Nkabinde Enquiry, we've heard the chilling testimony of Siphamandla Mhlongo, who lived through the torture chambers of Cato Manor death squad. This morning we go deep. We are going to look at the exact names, exact date, and the exact method used to hollow out South Africa.
I mean, if the 3-year contract expired in February last year, and you extended it, and now it's been extended again until June this year, I mean, that's at least a year and 4 months. That's easily R1 billion.
It's approximately 750 million
a year.
A year.
And then you add the other 4 months. Because remember,
yes,
you said the extension, the current one, is going to run until June.
That's correct.
So a year would have been last year March until this year March. And then you add, May, June, hopefully they would have finalized it by then. That's 14 months.
That's correct, Commissioner.
So it gets you over 800 million easily.
This is only for the Watchman services. When we add the ad hoc that escalated this year, it's going to be close to R1 billion.
Yeah.
Let's start with the money. Revo Spies, the Deputy Chief of Asset Protection, walked into the Madlanga Commission and dropped a bomb. The story began in 2016. The city of Tshwane advertised a tender for watchman services, guarding municipal buildings. It was supposed to be a simple 3 years contract, but Spies testified that this tender was riddled with irregularities from day one.
Indicated that it should be written as R0.00 and not as not applicable. It was their findings. And then the second finding was that when the documents was removed from supply chain in the BEC, there was a register where probity signed for all the documents, all the bid documents. However, when they returned it, 6 documents were missing. And that missing documents then caused the second reason why this tender, because it's irregular, and it's the second reason that this tender be cancelled because of this irregularity, and the process must therefore commence afresh again with a new tender process that must be started.
Commissioner,
it seems the easiest way to scupper a procurement process is just to remove documents, throw them away, the result of which will be that the process has become irregular. But this is not the first time this is happening. It happened at the stage of the evaluation of the very contract that's being extended from time to time now. I wonder how the documents get or go missing.
The First Bid Evaluation Committee, or the BEC, tried to cancel it. Why? Because bid documents were literally stolen from municipal offices. It was taken to an unknown location and returned with pages missing. When officials realized that the files had been tampered with, they recommended a total restart. But here is where the legal capture happens. The companies involved took the city to court, not once but twice. Judge Fabriculus and Judge Setosa eventually judged that the city must award the tender to the 22 specific companies, disputing the city's own internal warning of fraud.
Of 2 elements to it. One is what we call the Watchman services, which is paid to the 22 monthly companies, which is sites that have been identified where they are deployed on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. And then there's a second portion which we call internally ad hoc services. Ad hoc services is emergency need. It is when it's a situation where there could be a break-in at the site on a Friday evening and we need emergency guards at a short notice. That is ad hoc services, and these are then temporarily, and a in the new tender, for instance, that will be an hourly service, and if that hourly service extends to be longer than a month, then we will pay the monthly service. That's the idea behind ad hoc services. It's when it's a short-term, immediate solution.
One of these companies was Triotic Protection Services, a firm founded by the current Deputy Mayor and Finance MMC EUGENE MODISE. MODISE claims that he divested his shares when he became a councillor in 2023. The DA has produced reports claiming that he still receives rental income from the property where the companies operate.
Been digging, and we've been revealing information bit by bit as we can confirm it. The link between EUGENE MODISE and Triotic Protection Services was revealed by us. The pressure against MODISE resulted from that investigation. The link between MODISE and MKHWANAZI, which is the company that provides the water tankering services, was revealed by us.
For 9 years, temporary tender has been extended and expanded. It has ballooned to a 2.9 billion drain on the city of Tshwane. This is why the city is broke. This is why small businesses haven't been paid. The money is locked at an evergreen contract. The courts and the politicians refuse to let go. What tops it all is the allegations that the very same Mr. EUGENE MODISE is also involved in the allegations of water tankers. The DA came with all the receipts to prove to us that actually this man has been buying secret water tankers. While citizens or residents of Tshwane don't have water for years, this very greedy man of the ANC decided to buy water tankers allegedly and provide these water services, meaning that he has more than just the tender to provide security services in the city of Tshwane. He also has a tender which provides water services in instances of water shedding. You see what we mean when we talk about water mafias? We are talking about people such as Mr. EUGENE, a typical ANC member, people who love corruption and can stay away from that. But because I don't want it to seem like I'm the one who's decampaigning the ANC or bad-mouthing them or making allegations, I'll put in here the 4-minute clip of the DA exposing a former Treasurer General of the Tshwane who belongs in the ANC, who belongs in the DA party, has decided to come with all the files in how Mr. EUGENE MODISE has secret tankers.
Discovered that it shares a common registered address with several of the other companies that from time to time have done business with Tshwane. That common address is 148 Visvanger Street, Hakdoringboom. During my own time as MMC of Finance, I raised concerns about a tender award to some of these companies. During the course of 2024, I was approached by sources who claimed that companies sharing this address worked in common purpose to ensure joint control over waste collection tenders. This would be in contravention of tender requirements and regulations. The Auditor General subsequently also raised concerns during the 2023-2024 audit about a tender award called SSO1 2324 for the supply of both waste collection and water tanker services. Again, some of these companies were registered at the address 148 Visvanger Street. I raised my concern with the Tshwane CFO, Gareth Manisi, who assured me that concerns of the AAG would be addressed. This was about 2 weeks before the DA and our coalition partners were removed from government. I also then visited the site 148 Visvanger and I did the search of other companies that had been beneficiaries of SSO1 2023-2024. I have made important discoveries which I have kept in my records. At 148 Visvanger, I observed a collection of water tankers, waste removal trucks and yellow plant, which tended to confirm that the address was being used by multiple companies performing services related to those of SSO1 2324 tender. On a company search, I found that most of these companies had indeed benefited from SSO1 2324, had one of 4 individuals as current or past directors, namely Percy Lamola, Abednego Lamola, Alvin Nyker and Donovan Nyker. One of these companies was called Aqua Transport. The importance of Aqua Transport is that another ANC politician in Tshwane, George Machila, had approached me on at least 2 occasions inquiring about invoices by Tshwane to this company. I presumed that Machila, who is not a councillor in the city, had some connection to Aqua Transport as a subcontractor. I did inquiries on the payments of these and other invoices that Machila brought to my attention from time to time, but discovered that many of them were backdated to as far as 2018 and were not backed by purchase orders. In other words, I suspected that what Machila wanted was for Tshwane to pay invoices that had not in fact been properly requisitioned by the city. This creates risks of fraud. Later, at the end of 2025, when the DA was no longer in government, a report served before the Section 79 Oversight Committee on Finance, indicating that the companies that Machila inquired about, including Aqua Transport, had debit balances on their supplier accounts of 6.8 million rand. This indicated that payments were eventually made by the city to these companies without invoices being processed, another fraud red flag. Turning back to Al Shaddai Security Services, registered at the common address 148 Visvalger, I discovered that one of the founding directors of Al Shaddai, a person called Masilela, had been a founding director with a top-ranking ANC politician called EUGENE MODISE in 2 companies, On the Dot Media and African Monitoring Group. The DA will provide more details of the above to the Madlanga Commission, who might be in a position to draw links between the information that we have and the evidence that they have been led and will still led at the Commission.
Obviously, after these allegations, the ANC saw it fit for them to come before South Africans and reply to these allegations in their sobby, political, apologist type of response.
These are allegations of an administration that was led by them. If they are saying or they are accusing that our leaders are milking the municipality, there must be material evidence to that effect. Where we stand is that the regional chairperson of the African National Congress, before he got into council, he declared he resigned from his company. And then when he got into council, he made those declarations. These are processes. If anybody wants to find out such information, that information is with the city manager. But more importantly, is that there are these growing allegations that the ANC leaders are awarding tenders for themselves. How do you have councillors, for that matter, taking an opportunity to award tenders? Because that is purely a supply chain management aspect or responsibility. No councillor has or enjoys the powers, being in council or being part of the executive, where you are able to issue out tenders. That is an administrative function. So unless the DA is trying to tell us that at the time when they were in government, they are the ones that fiddled with administrative processes and went on to award tenders, we are not equal to that. We do not have or enjoy that responsibility, but ours, from an executive point of view as well as legislature, is to play oversight role over the work that is being done in administration.
They're involving politics. They're saying all of this is political, not thinking about how adverse this has been to the residents of Tshwane, the consequences that the residents of Tshwane have faced because of such things. But the 2.9 billion wasn't enough. Spies then moved to what he calls the ad hoc services. This is the shadow government. He testified about a company called Gubis 85 Solutions, owned by Calvin Mhlongo. In just the 2024-2025 financial year, this company was paid 59 million rands for ad hoc security services. If it doesn't give you chills, I don't know. What more should it?
Paid to Gubis 85 for ad hoc services only. But I have been informed that Mr. Manisi and Deputy Commissioner Dlamini communicated with each other on 5 March by sending messages through Sergeant Nkosi in relation to the creation of purchase orders for ad hoc services. The purchase orders created out of this process were registered on the TMPD system only on the 6th of March. And these include purchase orders for ad hoc services ostensibly procured for Gubi's 85 solution in the aggregated amount of 13,635,133.60, and that's 11 million plus VAT. And I've attached a spreadsheet of those as well. I must actually state that obviously I've been informed of this. I haven't at that stage, and as I stated, I was appointed on 1 March 2025, and my first week at Tshwane Metro Police was a administrative induction, contract sign, payroll, admin, uniform issue. Effectively, I started to work on Monday the 10th, actually doing work, and on the 12th, I discover an email which then referred back. I didn't know these were happening at the back end at all.
How was this authorized? Spies testified that on 5 March 2025, messages were flying back and forth on WhatsApp. The city's CFO, Gareth Mnisi, and the TMPD Deputy Commissioner are communicating through a middleman called Sergeant, none other than Nkosi. By the next morning, which was the 6th of March, purchase orders were magically registered in the system. No public bid, no oversight, just a text message between the powerful men. Spies called it a scramble for resources, where the ANC, EFF, and Action SA were all allegedly allowing each others to get their preferred companies in the payroll. Yes, even the EFF, because we know that Research Nkosi made allegations that there were 7 companies that were suggested by CIC Juju, even though Julius Malema has refuted those claims.
A man goes to Madlanga Commission. They say, yeah, it's a list of 7 companies of security. They say this list come from EFF. Please check with the CFO to check with the CIC whether this is a list of the EFF. They never said the CIC gave them a list. They never said the CIC confirmed the list. No one has ever come to me with any nonsensical list, but because my name is mentioned there and the EFF's name is mentioned there,
but there's people that have said that they've seen some of these companies in the rallies of the EFF, but because these are allegations, I'm not going to entertain them. I'm just putting out there that there's people that have said that. We know that the Action SA member, the MMC, has been enabling this, leaking certain tender information. So indeed, Action SA is involved. ANC, as you've seen from what I've said previously about Mr. EUGENE MODISE. He's also involved. He's been siphoning money endlessly. And the man at the center of the money is Gareth Mnisi. He's already under fire for allegedly falsifying his CV and hiding his fabulous wealth. In Tshwane, it seems that the more questions you have about a man's background, the faster he moves the money. And why would I forget the insubordination? Because MALATJI was very, very disrespectful towards Mr. Spies, towards Commissioner Spies. Even from the time of him introducing himself to Commissioner Spies, he came across as very rude, trying to put Commissioner Spies in his space, trying to see that this man probably is not here to play, and probably would not be easy for us to lure him into our corruption. Therefore, they thought the only way is to be insubordinate to him. Whenever he gives them instructions, even when these bidding companies, especially Gubi's 85, when it was busy going and working in places that were not designated for them, he would go and tell MALATJI about that act. MALATJI will continue being insubordinate. Even when he tried to lure in the deputy police commissioner, which is the deputy chief of police, which is uDlamini. Even when he would speak to Dlamini, still, this man was so insubordinate. It makes all the sense why he was insubordinate, because he knew that someone like Spies was going to expose them. And he's also part of this entire syndicate that they were busy pushing there at the TMPD. And MALATJI's role is more apparent when now these two companies, especially Gubi's 85, had to stop providing services, because remember that they were in areas that they were not allocated to, and it looks like the city did not even have the money for them to pay them. So what happened now is that they should stop all the services and should stop adding work for themselves, because they were still submitting invoices even after MALATJI was told that these companies should stop providing services because the city does not have the money. It has exceeded its budget. But still, these people continued. And MALATJI, as well as Udlamini, never said anything about this. They just kept quiet. Spies even had to now go and contact Gubi's directly, tell Gubi's that stop providing services. And this is so painful. It reminded me of the testimony of Sergeant Gosi. You remember, guys, what Sergeant Gosi said? I don't know what's the interest of Mampane in Gubi's, but if you guys remember the testimony of Sergeant Gosi, Mampane was so interested that he even said that make sure that you cancel the tender. If you guys remember the words that were said by that were displayed through chats between Mampane and Faninkosi. The specific words that were used was, please let him say no to that appointment. So could it be that Gubi's, Mampane has some relations to Gubi's, he owns some Gubi's or what? I don't know, but just some thoughts to ponder on.
He then issued at 4:22 instruction to me, Deputy Commissioner Spies, please stop any ad hoc deployment until the correct procedure determined by you have been implemented, bearing in mind that there's no additional funding already. And then obviously I forward this whole conversation as and when it happened. I forward every portion to Director MALATJI to say, and further to the ad hoc deployment of guards, stop the deployment of all ad hoc guards as with effect tomorrow morning. Send it to Gubi's 85 specifically to say, as of now, you stop this. This was dated on the 24th of June. I sent a letter to them to say, stop the service with immediate effect on 30 June, not immediate. I'm going to stop using the word immediate. I said, stop the service with effect 30 June, because their contract at that stage in the parallel process, their contract has been extended from February 28 BAC resolution with 4 months to 30 June. So their contract will in any case stop 30 June. So I said to them, as with effect from 1st of July, the services must be stopped. That is on the 24th of June that I've sent that letter.
Now let us move to the Nkabinde Enquiry. At the Nkabinde Enquiry, the focus is on Advocate Andrew Chauke, the DPP of South Gauteng. Is he fit for office? To answer that, the commission is looking at how the Cato Manor death squad cases were handled. For 2 days, we heard from Siphamandla Mhlongo, the chairperson of KwaMaphumulo Taxi Association. His testimony was a descent into hell. He described being abducted by the officers of the Cato Manor unit, Organised Crime Unit in 2009. He wasn't taken to a cell, he was taken to an office. On walls, it was written, don't say it's us, don't say I don't know.
Tobekani Mkhize said we must meet at Durban North. We drove to Steers at Durban North at about 1100 hours. We sat down at Steers and have something to eat. While we were at Steers, we were joined by Tobekani Mkhize, Bongani Mkhize, Sky Ndimande, Sfiso Ndimande, and Gedani Mhlongo. Sky Ndimande then started the meeting. He first said Magojela Ndimande, who was his brother, was sold to the police by Inkosi Zondi. He said Inkosi Zondi gives the information to the police that Magojela was driving to Mpumalanga province on that day. Mr. PM Zuza then insisted and said Inkosi Zondi need to be killed. Tobekani said he supported the idea of killing Zondi. Tobekani also requested to know that what was going to be the amount for killing Zondi. The two Ndimande brothers, Sky and Sfiso, volunteered and said they can pay 50,000 rands. Mr. BM Zuza said the Maphumulo Taxi Association can pay 150,000, which will make it 200,000. Tobekani asked as to where we can get the killers is Nkabinde. Zuza pointed at myself, Sky, Sfiso, and Spare, and said we can be the killers. Now, this is the entire plot, which then became the basis for people like Major General Boysen to claim that all of these people that are mentioned here were implicated in the murder of Nkosi Zondi. Now, the names I've been reading out and the story I've been reading out, was this different or similar to the story you were told to confirm during your torture?
Chairperson, it's the same story.
Mhlongo's description of tubing was clinical and terrifying. A plastic bag over the head, suffocating until the heart almost stops, then water thrown into the face to wake him up so that the beating could continue. He told Justice Nkabinde, "You will create a story just to survive. If you say you don't know, they will unalive you." And actually he did so. He sold out all of his colleagues in the taxi industry. All of them were killed or unalived one by one because of his confession. In terms of the Criminal Procedure Act, Section 122, you can't obtain a testimony or a confession by force or by using force. You have to do it willingly. There's certain requirements that you have to meet in order for you to say that, okay, I have done 1, 2, 3, and that I've complied with the law, and that this admission is admissible in court.
So the entire case was hanging upon the confession obtained under torture.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And this is the point, Mr. Mhlongo. You know, your confession and the confession of Swai, both obtained under torture, then became the basis upon which a lot of people were killed in relation to the murder of Mr. Zondi. Mr. Kiza was killed in those circumstances. Mr. Ndumande was killed in those circumstances. But the police knew that those confessions were illegal confessions.
It is true, Chairperson, and it pains me to know that the police had to do whatever they have done, and they have left the offense. Because he was a family man, and his family is suffering even today.
On day 2, Mhlongo explained how he's still alive. He couldn't be. Many of his colleagues are in the ground. He testified that his brother, who was in the Hawks, called General Johan Boysen directly. The message was simple: "We know you have him. If he dies, we know it was you." That phone call is the only reason Siphamandla Mhlongo was able to walk into the commission. But even now, he's a man in a cage. He testified virtually from a secure location under heavy guard. Why? Because he believes that the police in KZN are still acting as hitmen for rival taxi association. And also, he spoke about the role of Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI with assisting them in peace talks or having peace between the taxi associations. Because remember that the Nkabinde Enquiry is where it is because of the taxi associations. People died because of taxi association, because of taxi wars. That is why we got to a point of Superintendent Nkabinde dying and Nkosi also dying, which led to all of these people that are from these taxi associations being unalived by the Cato Manor unit. So the KZN Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI, personally invited him and other taxi bosses to a peace meeting last week, which was 300 kilometers away. But here is the thing. He says he fears for his life. MKHWANAZI's peace meeting was far and he couldn't bring his bodyguards. Why? Because the police had arrested them. He says that the top cop chastised him for not attending the meeting. And then came the chilling part. Mhlongo heard from colleagues that MKHWANAZI was asking, where does Mhlongo live? Mhlongo testified that Mhlongo is not testifying from the inquiry. He's a secret location he refused to disclose because he fears for his life. He's under police protection but still pays an arm and a leg for his own army of private security guards. Such is his fear that he will be killed and that he will be unalived, and has instructed his lawyer to seek an interdict against police torture and unalivings. This is exactly why another member of the KwaZulu Taxi Association did over a decade ago. He too went to court to seek protection from the Cato Manor unit. It was granted but they unalived him anyway. This is a taxi boss living like a man marked for death.
It's worrying because even there was a shootout that happened on the 13th of March, which was on a Friday. I was told by the provincial commissioner to come and attend the the meeting that he convened later in the afternoon. I told him that I'm 300 kilometers away where he was calling the meeting, and he was agitated because he felt that I'm not respecting him if he calls the meeting. And I even told him that, Commissioner, I'm staying far. I'm staying far in the north of the KwaZulu-Natal. So it's impossible for me to drive, and you have arrested my security guards. I'm not going to be able to drive without my bodyguards. And I sent 4 members of the executive committee to attend that meeting. And he keep on questioning them if they know where is my residence. So for me, that as well, it was disturbing because I don't know why he wants to know where I am staying and why he is questioning the members of my executive if they know where I stay.
This brings us to Advocate Chauke. The allegations being probed is that Chauke bypassed the KZN authority to push racketeering charges against the Cato Manor unit. Charges that were later thrown. Was this a genuine attempt to stop the death squad, or was it a malicious prosecution designed to protect other political interests? Mr. Mhlongo also testified that his family was abused in the whole process, and that he had to now and again protect his family. They're saying that they're looking for firearms, all those weapons. Says that he did take the matter to court, and this is what the court said when they made a verdict with regard to this matter.
Yes, thank you. I mean, these are really, really serious findings made against the entire police service. That they rode roughshod over your rights. They tried to implicate you in a crime that they knew you were not implicated in. And then they extracted a confession under false pretenses and under torture. As you say, you don't know if those people are still there in the police, but Mr. Chauke is here facing a charge for trying to do the right thing. Now, after the declaration by a judge that the false confession against you was inadmissible, and that's written there in capital, what did the prosecutor say, Mrs. Khrief?
Mrs. Khrief, as the court pleases, my lord, there is no further evidence that the state can present. I close the state case.
What makes it worse is the fact that he never committed all of these atrocities. And this was in relation to the death of Nkosi. And since this Nkosi was unalived, they had to bring everyone down. They wanted people to come and confess for things that they didn't do, just so that they could tick the box and say that they have indeed done something with regards to this case. We have covered 2.9 billion in stolen tenders, water-based procurements, water tankers, and the literal torture of South African citizens. What is the link? The link is that it's the failure of oversight. In Tshwane, the bid evaluation committee tried to stop the rot, and the court stopped them. In KZN, the IPD investigators tried to stop the killers, and the political rhetoric of shoot to kill embodied the officers. One thing you should know is that our judiciary is captured. Not long ago, they were accused of assisting people that are part of the cartels to get bribes, to get bails, just that been doing a lot of things, the judiciary of South Africa. And now we see that they enabled an irregular tender to be appointed and to receive monies and take certain monies from the municipality, even though they went to non-designated areas. One thing about Revo Spies is that he also testified a very important fact that he tried to communicate, he tried to ask answers, but there were people that were very much insubordinate, that never listened to anything that he had to say. Because they knew that they're in charge, they're in control. Little did they know that that was not long enough, that was not going to be for long, because the Madlanga Commission, Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI Mhlongo, is coming to attack.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Tawula.
Revo Spies and Siphamandla Mhlongo are two sides of the same coin. One is fighting the war of spreadsheets, the other is fighting a war of his life. Both have shown us that the state is captured. The first thing to die isn't the economy, it's the truth. Let me hear your thoughts, guys, what you think about these two processes, the Nkabinde Enquiry and the Madlanga Commission. On Thursday, at the Nkabinde Enquiry, Advocate Andrew Chauke will be taking the stand. I can't wait for Thursday. And on the other hand, Madlanga is on recess. They said that they're going to come back on the 7th, if I'm not mistaken, 7th or 8th of April. But we'll see when they come back, and we'll continue with these stories. Let me hear your thoughts, guys, what you think. I'll see you guys on my next upload. Bye.